a team of specialists working to defuse a dangerous unexploded bomb, the ANM-644, at a restricted site. Zhou In-chang, one of the team members, is momentarily distracted, scribbling in the sand as if trying to recall something he's forgotten while his colleague focuses on the bomb. Simultaneously, in a hospital in Seoul, In-chang's pregnant wife, Ji-young, is having a routine checkup. Curious about their baby's gender, she asks the doctor but later playfully avoids telling In-chang when he calls her from a traffic jam. Suddenly, an earthquake devastates a cultural center in North Korea, and an emergency alert for aftershocks follows. The ground trembles, signaling the beginning of a massive earthquake. As the chaos unfolds, In-chang frantically tries to reach his wife but crashes in the pandemonium as buildings collapse around him. Amid the destruction, reports confirm that Mount Baekdu, situated on the China-North Korea border, has erupted with a magnitude of 8.0. In response, the Chinese government mobilizes troops while the U.S. begins evacuating its citizens. Meanwhile, Professor Jang Bong-rae, also known as Robert, prepares to leave for the U.S. when he's approached by John Yoo-kyung, a senior presidential secretary. She asks for his expertise on the Mount Baekdu eruption due to his specialized research, and despite initial hesitation, Robert agrees to help after being pressured. In a pivotal meeting, officials discuss the 4 magma chambers beneath Mount Baekdu, with one having already erupted and the others at imminent risk. While the first 2 eruptions are expected to be relatively mild, the final one could devastate nearly half of the Korean peninsula. Robert proposes triggering a 600-kiloton explosion to relieve pressure and collapse the ground around the remaining chamber, but his plan involving nuclear fission faces strong opposition. Despite his own reservations about the potential for greater destruction, Robert's suggestion is ultimately dismissed by the president, who instructs John Yoo-kyung to acquire a nuclear weapon by any means necessary. Meanwhile, Zhou In-chang is given a new mission by a colonel while traveling in a car, despite his upcoming discharge. Reluctant at first, In-chang is persuaded to take the assignment after the colonel offers to include him and his wife, Ji-young, on the U.S. evacuation list. In-chang agrees, determined to protect his family. Later that night, he informs Ji-young about the mission but keeps the details vague to avoid causing her worry. He instructs her to head to their meeting point, promising that once the mission is complete, they will leave Korea together. The following day, In-chang attends a briefing regarding North Korea's 6 remaining ICBMs and a detained informant, Lee Jun-pyong. Assigned as the captain of the technical team responsible for handling uranium and detonators, In-chang's mission takes a dangerous turn when Alpha 1's plane crashes, and his team's plane malfunctions, forcing them to parachute to safety. In-chang lands near the crash site, where General Choi orders him to retrieve a crucial black bag containing a map and GPS tracker. But with the Alpha 1 team lost, the responsibility of securing Junpyong and the nuclear weapons falls solely on In-chang's tech team. Upon arriving at the detention center, In-chang finds it in disarray, with security personnel killed in a riot and most prisoners having escaped, except for Lee Junpyong. Suspecting Junpyong might be a double agent, the team uses the GPS tracker to locate him. Junpyong mocks them, and despite the tension, In-chang orders Kim to open the door. After explaining the mission, In-chang allows Junpyong to take a shower. During this time, Junpyong cuts his hair, removes the GPS tracker, and finds a photo of In-chang's baby in his wallet. He also discovers a map of the mines, tears it up, and eats it. As they travel, they pass a collapsed statue of North Korea's leader, with Junpyong expressing guilt over it. When In-chang realizes his wallet is missing, Junpyong returns it, joking about eating the map, which angers Tae-sik, leading him to punch Junpyong, who laughs it off. Later, at a blocked tunnel, Junpyong asks to use the restroom. While Tae-sik retrieves a cigarette lighter Junpyong had tossed, Junpyong removes his handcuffs and knocks Tae-sik unconscious. Concerned, In-chang finds Tae-sik injured and realizes Junpyong left a tracker on him to mislead them. As the team searches for Junpyong, they discover he has gone to his home, where he confronts his dying wife about their daughter. Enraged by her betrayal, he fires a shot beside her head. The tech team, recalling Junpyong's earlier comment about the collapsed statue, checks nearby apartments and hears the gunshot. They find Junpyong holding a gun, and In-chang orders him to drop it. After Junpyong is handcuffed, the team moves to a machinery complex, where the 6 ICBMs are believed to be. However, Junpyong reveals that the factory is a decoy, and the real one is underground. He advises them to turn off the generator and use night vision goggles to avoid detection. Following their plan, the team splits up, with one group heading to turn off the generator while the other moves toward Basement 2. During a fight, Tae-sik throws a grenade near the generator, cutting the power in Basement 2 but leaving Basement 1 still lit. In-chang and Junpyong find themselves trapped by North Korean soldiers. Junpyong asks for a gun, and In-chang reluctantly hands him one, loaded with rubber bullets. Junpyong unexpectedly shoots In-chang and then introduces himself to the soldiers. As one of the soldiers inspects In-chang, both he and Junpyong ambush the guards. The tech team regroups in a container that Junpyong reveals to be a secret elevator, which takes them down to the real factory, where they discover the 6 ICBMs. After handcuffing Junpyong to a metal bar, the team puts on safety gear and starts disarming the warheads by removing the uranium casing and taking radioactive readings. They manage to retrieve 5 cores, but the last core is stuck in a warhead. In-chang decides to break the warhead to retrieve the core. As this happens, the second volcanic eruption occurs. Amid the chaos, Junpyong manages to escape as the gates begin to close, blocking the way out just before the team notices his absence. Outside, he makes a phone call and receives orders to retrieve the detonator and bring a technician to disassemble it. Surprisingly, he returns to rescue the trapped tech team. Meanwhile, back in Seoul, a dam collapses, triggering a massive tsunami that wreaks havoc on the city. On her way to the meeting point, Ji-young encounters the devastating tsunami but miraculously survives. Meanwhile, the tech team and Junpyong safely escape the collapsing factory. In-chang reports to the general that they have successfully retrieved the warhead cores. Elsewhere, Yu-kyung finds Robert hiding under his desk with his laptop, where he explains that their eruption estimates were wrong. Due to the 80% iron ore deposit in the 7th mine, the eruption is accelerating faster than expected. Robert suggests that striking a weak point in the 7th mine could stop the final catastrophic explosion. As the tech team loads the detonator into their vehicle, In-chang threatens Junpyong to get a map to help them leave. Suddenly, Junpyong spots a laser sight aimed at them and pulls In-chang down just as enemies begin firing. The team takes cover, returning fire, but one by one, the tech team is hit. Realizing the attackers are using heat detectors, Junpyong and In-chang try to fight back. In-chang drives a truck towards the enemies, stabbing the gas tank to create a diversion, leading to a massive explosion. However, Sergeant Min shoots the truck's gas tank right after In-chang jumps out, forcing a retreat when In-chang realizes the enemies are American soldiers. He is shocked to find a wounded American soldier and understands that the attack was a result of a violation of the US-South Korea alliance. As In-chang jumps into Junpyong's vehicle to escape, Junpyong betrays him by tasing him. The Americans, alerted to the South Korean mission, capture the tech team but notice that the uranium and the captain were missing, prompting a search for them. While Junpyong is away, In-chang manages to free himself from his handcuffs. When Junpyong returns, In-chang drives off, nearly causing Junpyong to fall out of the vehicle. A fierce struggle ensues between the two, with the car swerving dangerously toward a cliff before crashing into a tree branch. Both men continue their fight, but after a struggle involving a taser, they both lose consciousness, pinned down, and battered by the intense confrontation. At the evacuation meeting point, Ji-young arrives just as buses are leaving and manages to board one after being recognized as In-chang's wife. She encounters Robert, who is disappointed with the South Korean government and is leaving as well. However, at the port, Ji-young is stopped from boarding the evacuation ship due to her lack of US citizenship. Meanwhile, in North Korea, In-chang and Junpyong are making their way to Bocheon near Baekdu Mountain, carrying the detonator. They stop briefly at a store before being joined by Sergeant Min and an injured Tae-sik, who arrive with a bus. The group evades the Americans as the third eruption destroys the bridge, preventing them from being followed. Back at the port, panic spreads among the evacuees, and Robert, deciding to help stop the final eruption, protects Ji-young and contacts Yu-kyung for military documents. After Yu-kyung successfully retrieves the documents despite being stopped by the Americans, she reunites with Robert and Ji-young. Together, they manage to contact In-chang, who is surprised to learn his wife is with them and immediately changes his course toward the 7th mine. In the north, Jun Pyong decides to leave the uranium with In Chung to ensure the mission's success and heads to Bocheon, where he meets his traumatized daughter. Shortly after, Chinese gangsters, expecting the uranium, shoot Jun Pyong when they realize he doesn't have it. A gunfight ensues between the Americans and the Chinese, which In Chung interrupts, stopping the violence. As the Chinese and Americans realize the detonator's timer has been activated and cannot be stopped, they flee the scene. In Chung orders Sergeant Min to take Tae-sik and Jun Pyong's daughter to the hospital, while Jun Pyong says a final goodbye to his daughter before leaving with In Chung for the 7th mine. In Chung briefly contacts Ji Young, who, sensing the danger, pleads for him to return. He ends the call as she goes into labor. Robert and Yu Kyung rush Ji Young to the hospital as the volcano erupts. Meanwhile, In Chung and Jun Pyong reach the mine, cut the elevator cables to descend further, and Jun Pyong sacrifices himself by locking In Chung out, ensuring the mission's completion. Before letting the elevator fall, Jun Pyong asks In Chung to take care of his daughter. Weakened from the fall, Jun Pyong struggles to push the detonator closer to LA-24, the mine's weak point. Devastated by Jun Pyong's sacrifice, In Chung drives away from Mount Baekdu. The detonator successfully explodes, preventing the massive eruption from destroying Korea. Both North and South Koreans celebrate the narrow escape from disaster. A year later, the reconstruction of the Seoul Metro is 74% complete. Robert returns from the US, now feeling more connected to his homeland, and is welcomed back by Yu Kyung. In Chang has adopted Jun Pyong's daughter, and together with his and Ji Young's son, they have become a happy family, finding peace after the tumultuous events.